MSBA, where Minnesota school boards learn to lead.
Hello, I'm Kirk Scheinlein, Executive Director of the Minnesota School Boards Association. Welcome to the Weekly Advocate. The state legislature will be setting budget targets for our Minnesota school districts this legislative session. We're going to need your help to make sure our schools are funded by at least the rate of inflation. But before we ask for more money, we need to clarify an accounting method that may be perceived as schools automatically getting an increase. MSBA is collaborating with other educational organizations to share this information with legislators. We want to equip you with the information to be able to explain the story behind the numbers. As you know, our state budget is set on a biennium or 2-year cycle. This can confuse an already complicated funding process and often portray an inaccurate picture of state funding for school districts. The confusion happens when you compare education spending from one biennium to the next biennium, rather than year-to-year spending. For example, the budget that came out last November shows education spending is projected to grow by $774 million, or a 4% increase from the 2016-2017 biennium to the 2018-2019 biennium. This sounds like a lot of money, but it is not reflective of the actual funding increases received by school districts. It's really important we, as school board members, understand the real story behind the numbers. And it is vital we get the legislators to understand the real story. We are going to break down how this is an increase in state spending and not a revenue increase to cover our district's annual budget needs. Part of the $774 million comes from special education for 2 reasons. The first is there are more students receiving special education services. The other is a new funding formula that was adopted in the 2013 session. So, the increased number of students receiving special ed services and the new formula accounts for $292 million of the biennial increase. The next area for us to understand is the story about the per pupil growth. Since general education spending is largely driven by the number of students served in our schools, faster than projected pupil growth accounts for a large share of the projected increase in education spending. While pupil growth accounts for a significant cost increase for the state, it does not provide additional per pupil funding for school districts. The state is projecting pupil growth to exceed its previous forecasts by 26,000 students in the 2018 and 19 biennium. The increased number of students accounts for almost $223 million of the projected biennial increase in education spending. A third factor is what we call the second-year effect. It arises when the legislature enacts a new program or increases funding for an existing program that becomes effective the second year of the biennium. When this happens, the program only requires 1 year of funding in the current biennium, but must be funded for both years in the subsequent biennium. Here are 2 examples. First, the long-term facilities and maintenance revenue program. A very popular program. It was adopted in 2015 and made effective for fiscal year 17, the second year of the biennium, but will need to be funded for both years in the 2018-19 biennium. So this accounts for $131 million of the biennial increase. The second example is the per pupil formula increase. The 2015 legislature approved a 2% annual increase in the basic formula for the 2016 and 2017 biennium. Here again, the increase that took place in the second year of the 2016 and 17 biennium only had to be paid for once in that biennium, but will have to be paid for in both years of the 2018 and 2019 biennium. This accounts for $110 million. There are other cost drivers for consideration, such as an increase in the number of students eligible for free and reduced lunch, and the changes to the mix of state aid versus property taxes. Once again, this is increased spending for the state, but is revenue neutral for school districts. School districts need new investments in the basic formula, special education, and other important education programs this session. We hope that this has been informative and you will share this with other school board members as you have conversations and work through your budgeting process. Continue to follow the Weekly Advocate each Monday, where we will provide you with talking points on MSBA's legislative agenda. Thank you for watching.